There was a player who was supposed to take over world football. Not just another wonderkid. Not just hype. This one felt different. Explosive speed. Ice-cold finishing. And at just 17 years old, he was already doing things most players never achieve in their entire careers. At AC Milan, they believed he was the next Ballon d'Or. In Brazil, they were already comparing him to legends. Everything pointed in one direction. Greatness. But then, something changed. The goals slowed down, the spotlight faded, and the name Alexandre Pato quietly disappeared. No big farewell, no final chapter, no clear explanation, almost like football. Erased him. And the question isn't whether he failed. The real question is, how does a player who had everything just vanish? Before Europe knew his name, Brazil was already in shock. At just 16 years old, Alexandre Pato wasn't just another academy player. He was dominating grown men. Defenders couldn't keep up. Coaches couldn't ignore him. And fans knew they were watching something special. At International, he didn't take time to adapt. He took over. In training, he looked untouchable. In matches, he played with a level of confidence that didn't make sense for his age. And then came the moment that changed everything. The FIFA Club. World Cup.A global stage. The best teams in the world watching. Most teenagers would hide. Pato stepped forward. He scored. Not just a goal, but a statement. At 17 years old, he became one of the youngest scorers in the tournament's history. And just like that, Europe was watching. Scouts didn't see potential anymore, they saw certainty. A future superstar, a future icon. But what no one realized at that moment was that this rise was happening too fast, and sometimes when everything comes too early, everything can fall apart just as quickly. When AC Milan signed Alexandre Pato, they weren't buying a prospect. They were buying the future. A teenager from Brazil, stepping into one of the biggest clubs in the world. A dressing room filled with legends, a league known for destroying young talent. This was supposed to be too much, but Pato didn't struggle, he exploded. On his debut, he scored. Calm, clinical, effortless. Like he had been there for years, and then it continued. Goals, runs, moments of pure brilliance. He wasn't just keeping up, he was standing out. Fans started to believe. The media started to talk. This wasn't just a rising star, this was the next global icon. Fast, technical, deadly in front of goal. He had everything. At one point, he was even outperforming players far more experienced than him. And quietly, a dangerous expectation started to build. Ballon d'Or, not someday, soon. But right when everything seemed perfect, when his career was only going one way, something small appeared, something easy to ignore. At first, a slight discomfort, a missed game, a minor setback, nothing serious. Or at least that's what everyone thought. At first, it didn't look like a problem, just a small injury, a few missed games, something every player goes through, nothing to worry about. But then it happened again and again. Alexandre Pato would come back, score look unstoppable, and then disappear, not because of form, because his body wouldn't hold up. One week he looked like the best young player in the world. The next he wasn't even on the pitch. Fans started asking questions. Coaches started managing his minutes. The rhythm was gone. And that was the real problem, because players like Pato don't just rely on talent. They rely on momentum, explosiveness, confidence, timing. And slowly he was losing all three. There were games where you could still see it. That same burst of speed, that same instinct in front of goal. But it didn't last. It never lasted, and little by little something changed. The conversation stopped being about how good he could become, and started becoming about whether he could stay fit at all. But what came next wasn't just another injury. It was the moment that truly changed everything. And then it stopped being occasional. It became constant. Muscle injuries, setbacks, comebacks, followed by another breakdown. Alexandre Pato wasn't just getting injured anymore, his body was betraying him. Weeks turned into months, turned into a cycle. Recover, return, break down again. Over and over. And the worst part? Every time he came back, you could still see it. That same talent, that same killer instinct. But something was missing, the sharpness, the explosiveness. That half second that made him unstoppable. Gone. And in football, that's everything. At AC Milan, patience slowly started to run out. Not because he wasn't good enough, but because he couldn't stay available. Managers changed, expectations changed, and Pato was no longer the future. He became a risk. What if? A player who could have been, but never fully was. And that label is one of the hardest to escape. But just when it looked like his career needed stability, he made a decision that confused everyone watching. At this point, Alexandre Pato still had time. He wasn't finished, he wasn't old, and the talent was still there. All he needed was the right move, the right club, the right system, the right moment to rebuild everything. But instead, he went the other way. He left Europe at a time when most players are entering their prime. Pato walked away from the biggest stage in football, back to Brazil. At first, people understood it. Less pressure, more comfort, a chance to restart. But it didn't last. The performances were inconsistent. The impact wasn't the same. And then came the move that really made people question everything. China, big money, low spotlight, far from elite competition. It felt like a decision you make at the end of your career, not in the middle of it. Fans were confused. Pundits were critical. Because deep down, everyone knew this wasn't just a transfer. It was an exit. An exit from the level he was supposed to dominate. And just when it seemed like his European story was over, one club gave him a final chance, a last shot to prove everyone wrong. Chelsea. The perfect stage. The perfect comeback story. But what happened next didn't revive his career. It confirmed everyone's fears. That move to Chelsea was supposed to change everything. A fresh start. A new league. One last chance to remind the world who Alexandre Pato really was. For a moment, it looked possible. He scored on his debut. Calm, confident, clinical. Almost like nothing had changed, but it was an illusion. Because after that, nothing followed. No consistent minutes, no real impact, no comeback story. Just silence. And that silence was louder than anything else. Clubs stopped betting on him. The spotlight moved on. New talents replaced him, faster, stronger, available. And Pato became a name people remembered, not a player they watched. From there, his career turned into something else. Short spells, different leagues, moments that never lasted. He was still playing, but no longer at the level where he once belonged. And that's how it happens. Not with a dramatic ending, not with a final match, but slowly, quietly, you just disappear. And for most fans, that's where the story ends. But the truth is, there's something deeper behind all of this. So what really happened to Alexandre Pato? Was it injuries? Yes. But not just that. Was it bad decisions? Also yes, but even that doesn't explain everything. Because the truth is, Pato was one of those rare players who had everything too early. The talent, the spotlight, the expectations, all at once. And when your career explodes that fast, there's no time to build a foundation. No time to fail quietly. No time to grow without pressure. Every mistake feels bigger. Every setback hits harder. And when the injuries came, they didn't just damage his body. They broke his momentum. And in football, momentum is everything. Because this game doesn't wait. If you slow down, someone else takes your place. If you disappear for a moment, you can be forgotten forever. And that's exactly what happened. Not a sudden collapse. Not a dramatic ending, just a slow fade from future Ballon d'Or to a what if. And maybe that's the hardest truth of all, because sometimes talent isn't enough. Sometimes being the best isn't what matters. Timing is. And Alexandre Pato arrived too early and disappeared too soon.